Order? I don't know how close I have to be. All right, roll call. Deputy Mayor Anderson,
Present.
Councilwoman Whitfield,
Present.
Mayor McIntosh.
She's last.
Oh, sorry, I don't know the order you go to. Sorry. Councilwoman Dr. Worthy,
Present.
Councilwoman Rebecca Perone. And Mayor McIntosh.
Present.
Thank you. Flag salute.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And then the compliance statement notice was provided in compliance with Chapter 231 of the Public Laws of 1975 to the Burlington County Times, Trenton Times, and Philadelphia Inquirer, stating the time, date, and place and agenda to the extent it was known. Additionally, notice was filed in the office of the Township Clerk. I would like to turn the meeting over to Mr. Chris, please.
Thank you, Ms. Savino, and good afternoon, Mayor and members of the governing body, to anyone that's in the listening public. Under New Jersey statutes annotated in 4069A-96, during the month of November in each year, the municipal manager shall require all department heads to submit requests for appropriations for the ensuing budget year and to appear before him at public hearings, which shall be held during the month of November on the various requests. This meeting is being held in compliance with the law, and I thank the governing body for taking time out of their schedule today to participate in the hearing as well, making it a collaborative process, being at the end of the day, the body is the one that would approve the 2025 budget, which will be formally presented to you probably in March of next year. So we are going to go through our departmental hearings as they are outlined on the agenda. We're going to start with Acting Director of Department of Public Works, Mr. Marvin Harris. And I'm going to ask that when you come to the podium, everyone please speak into the microphone and please speak loudly. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. We can hear you. I was a little distracted and focused. Good afternoon.
First, I would like to say this in 30 seconds. Thank you all, council. This is my last year here. Thank you for bearing with me and trials and tribulations and so forth. And thank you. 20 years ago, repping this department and being even on the ebbs and flows, you've been constant. So I really thank you. Dr. Worthy, thank you. Mayor McIntosh, thank you. Thank you. The 2025 budget for Department of Public Works. First page. The Department of Public Works is responsible for the maintenance and road of the township's infrastructure and the maintenance of the township building assets. Additional areas of responsibility include contractor management, tree maintenance and removal, garbage, contract administration, and snow removal. Next page, please. The DPW also executes recycling, coordination with the Burlington County OTC, road maintenance, includes line striping, signs, pothole repair, and road maintenance management, stormwater system maintenance, including inspection and repairs, and a leaf collection program that collects 7,000 plus cubic yards per year. Next page, please. DPW is also responsible for storm Sewer and drainage areas, MS4 compliance, street sweeping, support of township events, support of recreation department functions, including banquet facilities, setups weekly, recreation, sport field maintenance, pool operation and maintenance, and litter abatement. Next page, please. The acting director of public works will also, as directed by the township manager, coordinate projects and programs with the township engineer. Next page, please. The DPW staff consists of 31 budgeted full-time employees, acting director, assistant superintendent, 2 public works clerks, public works supervisors 3, assistant supervisor 1, supervisor of garage services 1, 2 repairers, 4 truck drivers, 2 mechanics, 13 laborers, and public property division consists of 2 workers and 2 light laborers, also within the department. Next page, please. Public property is responsible for the overall maintenance and repair of the township building assets. Additional areas of responsibility include contractor management and capital project overview. Next page, please. Again, public property consists of 4 full-time personnel, supervisor, assistant supervisor, and 2 building maintenance workers. Next page, please. The department administration. So in 2024, we were budgeted for 1,500 for training. This training is cost for tuition for the DPW director, superintendent abreast of current practices. That will remain the same at 1,500. And then there are miscellaneous trainings or things that pop up for the director and public works, and sometimes those courses are necessary as needed. Streets and roads, awards and dues, dues for membership, supervisors, the APWA, the PWANJ and the ANJR, the recycling program. Travel expense was 300 and now it's 400. Please, travel expenses for employees, attendance, NSLOM, the League of Municipality conferences, and miscellaneous meetings, including those parking and meals. Training will stay the same as in 2024. We're really trying to get our supervisors up to par in terms of CPWM. That way we don't have to go outside to have those areas covered. We will do it in-house. So we're trying to get as many trained for the CPWM as possible. Streets and roads, clothes and equipment, workers' uniforms for CPA, safety equipment. This covers PPE and first aid supplies. It did go up substantially only because we have brought in quite a few employees, and the manager is looking to increase the personnel in the public works department in 2025. That being the reason why license and registration will go up, because of the additional supervisors that we now have on staff. Small tools will remain the same for equipment for the mechanic shop. Signs will remain the same for street sign repair and replacements. We do replace signs as needed, whether they're stop signs or street signs. That falls under the guise of Public Works Department. Public events, 2024, budget for 1,500, 2025. They're asking for additional 1,500, totaling 3,000 for flags. Of course, the flags take a beating, especially during bad weather. They fade in the sun. Support of the parades, the Jazz Festival, and the Juneteenth celebration. We found out just this past year, just hanging the signs and creating structures for the signs, we did have to use a little bit more funding for these events. Medical exams, CDL med cards exams, research and certifications. That is going up an additional 1,500 to 3,000 because we're adding employees to our roster. Equipment, landscaping equipment, hedge trimming, weed whackers, and chainsaws. That's going up because we're doing more tree work, and we're really trying to expand getting our real estate back on the parkways. You know, the parkways are a little overgrown, so we're really trying to be proactive and getting back some of the real estate, as well as removing some of the nuisance trees that are on our parkways. Contractor will remain the same: tree removal, crack sealing, removal of deer carcass, equipment rental, fuel system maintenance and repairs, welding supplies, GPS system, and grass cutting, which now is also done by a contractor, some of our grass. Let's see down the bottom. What is that? Page 13. Equipment repairs to lifts, or the lift room truck and the compressors and light towers. We were at 10,000, now we're asking for an additional 13,000. As our equipment ages, as it has aged, the call for more repairs. Light towers, lift truck and boom, compressors, some of that equipment is actually aged, and it calls for a little more attention. Vehicle repair. I have some real numbers from the fleet maintenance supervisor. Their average was $65,775. The last 2-year average was $97,050. Although we're getting newer vehicles, electric vehicles, newer pickup trucks that we now lease, some of our older equipment still calls for heavy duty maintenance. Again, the year average for the last 2 years is $97,000, and these are, again, actually real numbers. So I know that's a substantial increase, but again, some of those larger trucks call for major repairs at times. So under that line item number, we repaired township-wide class 2 and 5 vehicles. That's the larger trucks and the smaller Mason dumps. 2-axle single unit trucks. Again, when we did this, we were at 93,000. But with the new vehicles, our maintenance costs will be less. So as the newer vehicles come in, this will go down. Next page, please. Streets and roads, DPW building repairs and maintenance of the pools, garage doors, fire extinguishers, and fire system tests. That actually, because of newer equipment, less maintenance, that went down substantially. Major truck equipment repairs and maintenance, tires, hydraulic cylinders, and bucket truck That was a little less. Again, I have real numbers. The last 4 years was 15,000. The last 2-year average was 11,000. So we just up a little bit. Kind of started right away.
Yeah, so I had a question, Madam Mayor. So I'm looking at the presentation we have. It's the same that's up there. When you talk about the pools, garages, doors, fire extinguishers, we don't have any numbers there, same as on the presentation. So it's, and then you jump down to major vehicle repair. So I'm trying to see. Yeah, Mr. Tunstall did tell us something was happening in PowerPoint when you tab over with the columns,
Yeah.
the numbers. Which
Did, I did, I apologize, I did not know or recognize.
That's okay. Do you have the numbers or do you need to give those to us later?
And what page is that?
Page 14.
Let's see. So in 2024, that was 35,000, but now we're at 0. We're not asking anything. We actually moved that to another line that almost took care of the same thing. So instead of having 35,000 there on top of additional monies and another budget line item, but look at some of the repairs were the same. So rather than ask for that, just move it. So I actually moved that to another budget line item number to save us some cost. That is 158-000-158. I'm sorry about that. I recognize that.
So 000-158 is what it is, and now it's gonna be 0, or is that where you're moving it to?
No, it's going to be 0.
It's going to be $0.
Yes,
And the budget, the line item number for what we're talking about was what ends with 000-158.
yes.
Okay, thank you.
Where was I? Major truck, no, did that construction, road and infrastructure repairs. That's Bluestone, crushed concrete, propane, easy street. It is the objective of the township manager to continue with our own pothole repair. We did invest in a machine. We do have infrastructure guys, so rather than, just not do it, the goal is to continue to do more work in-house that we can do. And of course, like the work that's being done throughout the town, public service and Ingalls and McCoy, that's not smaller jobs. The intent is to keep that work going. So that will stay at the 30,000. Next please, please. So the streets and roads operating budget thus far for 2024 was $300,031, and it's down now to $323,000 again because of removing some of those costs that we didn't have to double up on. Next page, please. No removal, contractual remain the same at 0. There are monies in that line. You have to ask Ms. Diggs exactly what it is. But we haven't had snow, so we haven't had any need to use that line. Equipment repairs for plows and plow edges and cylinders. Again, that will stay flat at 0. Next page, please. As you can see, there are zeros there. I have not had to use salt and sand. There has been no snow, so we haven't had to do a lot of repairs on snow again. Just moving some of those monies to other budget lines that cover the same work. Next page, please. Stormwater training. 2024 We budgeted for 500, and now we're asking to increase that by $1,000. Stormwater now is a little bit more intense than what it was. There's some programs now that are out there that we must subject ourselves to. For instance, when salt is applied, you have a certain amount of time to remove it. So we want to get all of our supervisors versed in training when it comes to stormwater, and hopefully be able to at some point have our own storm management division. License and registration, that is a normal fee that we pay every year. So that will stay at the 9,000. Signs, again, we do look through a lot of sign installations, even with the stormwater program that they are now implementing. It's actually in the works now. There's going to be signage that we're going to have to stay on top of. So rather than decrease that, we just want to stay right there. We do have signs in-house, but just in case we have to go outside of that, we want to remain at the 1,500. The equipment down at the bottom, 293,101. Nozzles, hoses, and parts for the jet vac is 0. We actually now are working out something with the WMUA. We still have access to the jet vac, but that is still being, the manager can talk to that more. That is still being worked out, so we won't have to worry about those costs in terms of pony motors, lines freezing, things like that. Stormwater contractual, big part of this is leaf collection. Our vehicle wash, which we are in the midst of now. Mr. Don Thompson is in the process now of trying to get that up and running fully. But again, the most of this is our leaf collection. We average about 7,000, but there are some years when we've done more than 7,000, close to 9,000 cubic yards and leaves. Equipment repair, 293,151. I think I have an actual number for that. 151. Yes, the last 4 years, average was $19,793. The last 2-year average for these parts. Next, please. Major vehicle repair. Again, because of the newer trucks, I have again an actual number where we did not spend as much. So rather than ask for the same amount, we asked for less so that we could put those monies elsewhere. 293,163. The last 4 average for this budget line item was $15,160. The last 2-year average had been $11,770. But again, we have larger trucks, hydraulic cylinders, all those things where tires are very expensive, but just to have a little more wiggle room. We did not go up to the 30,000, but just to 20,000. Illicit connections, 20,000. Again, all of that has to do with the new stormwater management that's being implemented right now. I don't know how that's going to look when it's all done, but we will have a lot of responsibilities when it comes to our stormwater, our drainage areas, and our streets. Next page, please. Oh, you got, okay. Streets and roads, OE. For 2024 was 331,000. Now we're at 300 or asking 355,000. That is an additional $24,000. Bringing that total stormwater OE budget for DPW from 121.5 to 132.11. And thus far, operating expenses go from 452,000 to 455,000. Buildings and grounds. Next page. Building and grounds training. Again, the new supervisors, and not just the new supervisors, but some of our current supervisors, they always have to stay on top of the CEUs. So that will remain as it was in 2024. At some point that will increase as the years go past, with the supervisors have only been in the ranks for the last couple of years. Books and publishing, that's zero. Clothing and equipment, that's zero, because it's all governed under the CPA. Next page. Buildings and grounds license and registrations. Again, a lot of our this line item here, a lot of our vehicles now are leased. So there was a time when we were spending a lot of dollars running to the DMV for registrations and all, but now that we're leasing vehicles, those numbers have dropped substantially. And now, so we even dropped it again from 4,000 to 2,500. Janitorial supplies, I could refer to Mr. Don Thompson, who's over public properties. He's asking to remain at the 2,500 for in-house janitorial supplies. We do have a cleaning company, but we also do a lot of parkway cleaning, obviously, and just the purchase of bags, pick sticks, and those kind of things, just to remove the litter. We have to, maintain our own in-house supplies. Small tools, again, I refer to Mr. Thompson. He's asking, and I'm asking, just an increase for small tools, things that he would need on hand for his maintenance guys in the buildings. Buildings and grounds, next page. Medical exams, $0. We don't cover the cost when needed. Fitness for duty exams and new hires. See 0 and another 0. 00101, 00111. No increase for that area. Buildings and grounds contractual. 132, 455,500, and now that has increased. We're asking for that to be 500,000. I can defer to Mr. Thompson from the public property side. That's the amount of work that he has encountered in all of our buildings. We definitely need to think ahead, think outside of the box, because every other day something's happening. But we want to be sure to be able to cover our costs, whether it's HVAC, whether it's electric, carpentry, our fire system, our elevator system. We want to be able to maintain our assets. JFK building maintenance. That will remain at 40,000, which it was in 2024. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Next slide, okay. Building and ground maintenance, again, I could defer to Mr. Thompson, who runs our public property. Again, with building repairs and things of that nature, garage doors, glass repair, fire system test. Those responsibilities are increasing as well as the service calls. So after conversation with him, we're asking for an additional 30,000 in that area, from 70,000 to 100,000. Building improvements, we'll keep that flat at the 10,000, which was requested in 2024, and now asking for the same in 2025. Next page. Other equipment maintenance for buildings and grounds. That's miscellaneous. Keep that where it was in 2024, 2,500. The library, it was at zero. And I really have to speak with the manager about this because of all the work that we've been doing there. We're asking, we could add 15,000 to that. I'm sorry, it was at 15,000. And we're asking that remain because of the work that's being done all at our Willenboro Library. OE budget for buildings. A total budget, I'm sorry. Yes. So our total budget, which includes all three areas, 2024 was 591,000. Now it's 500,000. Reason why it jumped so much is because of building maintenance, because of, again, all the service calls and in-house work that we either had to do ourselves or have contracted out.
So, your overall O&E budget for your whole department is 1 million.
Yes.
Okay. I thought you said 500.
No, that was 2024. I'm sorry.
Okay.
It increased substantially because of what we're asking for.
That almost double.
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, I can defer into Thompson, who's actually over it. But I see it every day with the repairs, with the emergencies, after work on the weekends.
Hello, everybody. Okay, so yeah, I've been spending a lot of time on repairing a lot of issues that's been going on in the building and plumbing and electrical. This is another day out on 130. The town board side went on fire. So I accumulated about $12,000 worth of wire work just to repair that, so we can find it on one day. Issues at Rodo restroom, here in the building here. And then we had the big flood that time I had to shut the building down. So we about a month ago, I had to shut the building down. I probably accumulated about, I think it was close to 15,000 to do the repair for that. And they was involved with two different companies, which Lexington, and also we had ARS electric company to do to make everything safe again, so the building can open up. I can't recall everything throughout the year, but it's a lot of different repairs that keep the system with using contractors. Well, my goals are for 2020, 25 is trying to build. I'm sorry. You guys can hear me? Oh, okay. Yeah, my goal this year is to try to get skilled workers. If we can inquire that even in the hiring that we're gonna do, or we get our guys trained in reference to plumbing, electric, carpentry, things that really deal with facilities. I'm looking into doing that to build my, department, build the division up, I'm sorry, or to build up DPW. We find, I do think there's a lot more uses of contractors that's unnecessary, but that's what it takes to keep everything running. That's where we at. 2025, I'm giving myself 12 months. I'm gonna be working on a goal to try to get that done with the manager and whoever the director. That's what I'm gonna be working on.
Any questions from the council members?
I have a question. You identified the DPW staff consists of 31 budgeted full-time employees. But when I do the numbers based on what you have, I see 33 plus the acting director.
Got two. Like,
Which aren't considered full-time?
They volunteers?
about,
Okay, so they're part-time workers.
we should talk about hiring masters.
Okay,
They're not full-time, they don't work, they need 40 hours a week.
okay, yeah, it just wasn't identified here, just in the calculations, so it was hard to differentiate.
With the ambassador, we're planning on utilizing them to do more of a trash pickup in the town. When the ambassador is that.
Okay, then the other question I see here is when it comes to the training budget, I see you only identified supervisors only. Is there any training provided for any of the other staff or just supervisors?
No, we actually, I've been talking with supervisors that the reason today. Trying to get training done. We now have an in-house CDL training, which was done through the JIP program. We're looking to get our guys trained on equipment. So the first attempt is to see what's out there that we don't have to pay for. Through the JIP program, we were able to send someone over. Now they are certified trainers. So the certified CDL trainer is in our department. So the trainer now, the trainer. And that was just a matter of him going, taking the course, getting certified, didn't cost the township anything but his 2 days, 16 hours. So the objective is to get all the training that we can. But as recent as last year, I looked into getting our guys trained with CDL, and it was the sum of some $40,000. We can do better than that.
Okay, because
What we do, we really do try to do our due diligence and seeing what's out there that is cost effective for us and not having to put that burden. Not that it's a burden, but we have a fiduciary responsibility to find out, what's out there, what's available for us so that we can get everybody trained.
all right, because one of my concerns is that we have the best employees possible, which means when they're training budgets, I would like to see them spread out across the department. I would like to see each director have a plan for each employee. Okay, because I just don't want the training budget to be spent on one individual or two individuals. But we want to see it spread out across the department, try to get a better understanding of what they're going to be trained on and so forth, so that we can see the direction that that we would like to go in as a township. Thank you.
And as recent as today, I'm looking at equipment operator training and backhoe training rather than hire somebody who wanted them to be done in-house. But also know that it should cost the town some $40,000 to get done.
No, I appreciate those efforts.
Same time that. Here. The reason why it's important that we get the right company, the right people, because this equipment that we run is heavy duty. You can take somebody's life. So it's like, I have a driver's license. But of getting in the car, getting in the back door is what we put concerned about. So we don't wanna run into anybody in a piece of equipment, you know, that's as wide as one lane on Allen Beach Road. We wanna make sure that when they get on that road, they are fully trained and fully experienced.
Understood. Thank you.
Any other questions? I appreciate the explanation for why the budget is increasing by that amount. And I do look forward to trying to minimize emergencies. To your point, I appreciate you giving some strategy on how to, yeah, again, minimize emergencies. 'Cause I understand emergencies will happen, but everything shouldn't be an emergency. And no, you're good. And everything shouldn't be emergency, but I like that you did explain that, you know, you're trying to get some in-house training to mitigate that as opposed to calling in contractors, which obviously will get a certain percentage increase based on their work. Mm-hmm, right.
That window was breaking bottles, statistics, the other night, like a brand new window. Brand new window. I had to go.
Mm-hmm. Right, agree.
That 4% money.
Right. And it's just a shocking increase. So I mean, as we start, hopefully, you know, if council agrees to approve that, you know, that we're still looking to kind of shift back down. Mm-hmm. That's understandable.
And we hate calling in contract. Really, I hate calling in contract. I want to be able to do it in-house.
All right, so that's why I appreciate you
I don't think
saying,
it's a sidewalk.
trying to mitigate that.
We want to do it.
Mayor, one of the things that I have tasked Mr. Thompson with is really this year to develop a maintenance program for our facilities. I know that has been talked about for years prior, but some of our emergencies can be diverted if we are just practicing proper planned maintenance practices within our facilities. So I know his number is a little shocking, but we are going to thoroughly pick through and look at that, taking into consideration of the works that we're currently and plan to do at JFK. And that will probably lessen the need for some of those emergency expenses.
Councilwoman Whitfield?
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for your presentation. I did have two questions. One was concerning line 164 in construction. You noted that included in that line is the materials for the hot patcher and things like that. I was wondering if you accounted for the volume of potholes after, you know, the ones that were repaired this year, if there's any backfilling needed or new potholes that may arise. I remember at some point this year we had ran out of materials, and I wanted to make sure that, you know, we had enough budgeted so that we have the appropriate amount of materials to take us through.
Well, where we are now versus where we were, we crack sealed now.
Mhm.
So years ago, there were no crack seals. So now you fill a hole, you crack seal it. Now you got the life of it. If you notice, for instance, on Rittenhouse, Rockland Drive, those little squirrely.
Mhm.
Well, that was because we sealed it. So rather than spend $700,000 for a road, we just sealed it and we got another. Now it's been 8 years. We got 8 years out of that road additionally because, so that's the purpose of us crack sealing. So once we fill it, it's done.
Okay.
Well, so we don't have to have as much material because once we do it, our plan is not to go back, you know, get some life out of it.
Okay, great. And then my last question was considering or on the topic of stormwater. And I know we've been dealing with a number of emergent culvert failures and pipe failures and things of that sort. Has there been any consideration for the purchase of that camera equipment we had discussed previously to mitigate some of those failures from being an emergency?
Yes, we did it. We actually did a demo 3 weeks ago with the company. The delay was the one company that we really, really wanted. They wouldn't send a representative out. They would ship you, you pay for the shipping and handling. Then you look at it like you had to do your own training. So just kind of looking at cost and what we know, what would work, we
What's your
finally
business?
did, see a company, we ran into a company that, okay, this is ideal for what we want, because what you really want to do is just all those places that fail, put that camera in there, and then we know exactly what to do. The worst thing is to have a contractor come in and tear a road up when they didn't have to tear the road up. So the idea is if it's 25 feet in, we don't need to go 100 feet. But of course, the contractor is not going to tell you that, but you know, if we get this machine, we'll be able to say, no, here's the problem from A to B. But we have been looking at, Ms. Harris, can we show that information?
Yeah, I'm waiting for the requisition for the purchase, for them to find the best one for the township, and then we're ready to make that purchase.
Okay, and is that considered in this budget?
That would
the
be,
proposed budget,
that would be
or
on our
this year's
current
budget?
capital budget.
Great, thank you. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. Next up is our inspections department under the guidance of Mr. Dennis Tunstall.
Mr. Harris,
No, go ahead.
I had a question. I know that this meeting was advertised from 2:30 to 4:30. And I know we're already behind, and it looks like on the agenda, a presentation scheduled to begin at 4:30. So I was just wondering what modifications will we be making, or are you suggesting, so that we can continue on in compliance with the advertisement of the meeting?
So my hope is that the remainder will flow a little bit quicker. There was a slot in there which was previously filled by the clerk's office. They're going to move their presentation until tomorrow. So I'm hoping that time and a quicker flow of conversation will move us along. However, if we have to stop, then we'll just have to make plans to finish. We'll start tomorrow where we left off, and then we'll have to make an arrangement to finish what we don't complete.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to be mindful of what we advertise.
Right.
And leaving room for
for
public comment.
Yeah.
Right.
Thank you so much.
Good afternoon.
Good
Council.
afternoon.
I'm going to do a presentation on, court services. Also give you a copy of our, organizational charts, so you can follow along if you have any questions or concerns regarding personnel. But as many of you know, support services, we're ready, Sean? We can go to, slide number 1, please, or 2, I should say. All right. Support services is comprised of actually 3 separate organizations or entities. Construction, which is UCC, and governed by DCA guidelines. Our construction official is Mr. Steve Buckhofer. We have 1 full-time subcode official, who is Ted Evans. We have 5 clerks and 1 part-time clerk. In zoning, we have 1 zoning officer, 1 additional certified zoning person, and they cross over, meaning they also fill other positions. That is not a permanent full-time position. Code enforcement officers, we have 4 full-time code enforcement officers. We are looking to fill 3 vacant positions for code enforcement officers and 1 part-time vacant position. Those code enforcement officers are responsible for 14 parks in Willingboro. So as you can see, it's imperative that we fill those voids as quickly as possible. Housing inspection, that's our rental resale area. There are 2 full-time housing inspectors and 1 full-time housing inspector position is vacant. In housing, there's 1 full-time clerk, and we have 1 full-time clerk position that is vacant. We have 1 senior code enforcement officer, I should say, Ms. Conrad, who's going to be retiring very soon, and she will be departing from our services. We currently have two senior code enforcement officers. They are full-time, and they also fill other positions, but they hold the position of a senior code enforcement officer. So of total, going forward, we hope to have 21 total full-time people, 2 part-time individuals, and 1 subcontractor, which is a position that we use to fill in case of an emergency. And you'll see as we go through contracts, exactly what that entails. Next slide, please. So here is just another view of what's vacant and what needs to be filled. As you can see, there's a clerk position, a housing inspector, and a full-time, 3 full-time code enforcement officers, as well as 1 part-time code enforcement officer. We will also be trying to backfill those senior code enforcement officers who have moved on to other positions. So,
Mr. Tunstall, I don't mean to interrupt. Can you just speak in the microphone? Everyone can hear online.
it's the better. We get a little closer. Lift it up. It's too short. How about that? It's better? Okay. All right. Hopefully everyone can hear me. If not, I will do my best to speak a little louder. Excuse me. Next slide, please. So this slide is our awards slide. As you can see, what we've done is kind of separated UCC from code enforcement. So you'll see the 195 is UCC, and the 196 you'll see later on would be code enforcement, and that's being done for tracking purposes. All construction budgeted items have to be separated for DCA purposes. So awards and dues, or what we call awards now, is -021. There is a slight change of $170. The objective this year is to acknowledge the employees a little more than we did last year and give them some recognition through the awards and dues line item. Travel expenses, here's where we start seeing changes between UCC and code enforcement. Travel expenses, which is 022, there is going down actually $1,000. And as you can see, this is a breakout. For UCC, it's zoning conferences, construction officials attending to get their CEUs. Also, now you'll see a separate line item, which is the 196-022, which is for code enforcement. That is also for additional, an additional account that was added to encompass League of Municipalities, zoning conferences, and we have hope to have, well, we have 2 senior code enforcement officers as well as myself, the director, which will be going into the League of Municipalities for some additional training. All right, so if you look at the -022 line item, there is a net gain of plus $1,500. So printing, once again, UCC and code enforcement is separated. There is actually a negative $3,000. We're asking for $4,000 this year, when the year previously we were asking for $7,000. But as you go through this process, you'll see where that money was moved down to another line item to separate code enforcement from UCC. The next line item, 196-024, you'll see that there is a net gain of plus $3,000. So in total, between the 2 areas, or I should say line items, it's a 0 difference, a 0 balance. A change, I should say. All right, next slide, please. So I know Councilman Anderson had mentioned about training. Excuse me. So once again, we've broken out the -028 between 195 and 196, which will be 195 is for UCC. This breakout is for UCC seminars and memberships. There is an actual change, and this is where I made a note where there's a minus sign missing. This should be a negative $2,000 difference. So last year we asked for $3,000. This year, we're only asking for $1,000, but most of that is because there's been a separation of the two accounts. All right, as we move down to training for code enforcement officers, which would be the 196-028, you'll see that this is a brand new account, and that account will have, or requesting $2,500. So you see a net gain of plus 25 in that particular account, but that is a new account. So in reference to training, we have 3.5 code enforcement officers currently. We have 1 housing inspector, 1 housing clerk that will be a new, that's going to be trained as well out of that budget. The CEUs for zoning. We have affordable housing training, as well as the American Association of Code Enforcement Officers. That is a training course that all our code enforcement officers are involved in and get certified in. So you'll see an additional $2,500 being requested there. So UCC, books and publishing, this is account 030. We actually had $1,700 in that account last year. We're only requesting $1,300, so there's a net negative of $400 difference. This is for UCC code books and updates that are expected to be in 2025. Publishing is also here. This is the 196-30, which is for code enforcement officers as well as zoning. It's an additional $400. All right, next slide, please, Sean. Here yet. Okay, so here's where we get into UCC, the difference between UCC and code enforcement officers with reference to clothing and miscellaneous items. The 195-032, we're asking for $2,500. Last year was $4,000, so it's a net negative $1,500. And that breakout is for UCC jackets, UCC shirts, and uniforms. We have a uniform contract where all the code enforcement officers, as well as the UCC code subcode officials, wear the same shirt and the same equipment. All right, so 196-032 is the breakout for code enforcement. There is a slight increase, but that is a new line item. This would take care of the uniform contract for all the code enforcement officers, as well as the 3 new code enforcement officers we hope to bring in 2025. That would be their jackets and gear for those individuals. That is a new line item, and it's, as you can see, it's going to be a $7,400 increase for that line item. All right, so let's break down construction equipment, office equipment for construction. That's the -111, and that is a net increase of $1,000. In 2024, we asked for $2,000. In 2025, we're asking for $3,000. This is all the office supplies, staples, folders, binders, stickers, placards, all the things that the UCC officials are mandated to have in terms of their inspections. Now, this is a new line item here, 196-111, which is now the separation of code enforcement and UCC. As you can see, it's a brand new request. The request is for $5,200, so that obviously is an increase to that line item. These are for code enforcement only. So it was imperative this year that we separate the two, because DCA will not allow you to commingle your material or your purchases or anything of that nature for records keeping. So let's see. All right, let's move on to the next page. All right, here's where we spend a little money. So 132, these are the contractual items. Last year, we spent $58,000. This year, we're requesting $71,000. We spent actually, as you can see, $59,400. There is a change of plus $13,000. And most of this is pretty much explained below. So Fast Track Gov is our software we use by both UCC and code officials. subcode officials. It is $62,000 for that software. This is, as we talked about last year, a software that took the place of 3 other softwares that we were previously using. Keeping in mind that in the contract, they're allowed a 3% potential annual increase, as well as for enhancements to the software in 2025. That's where we obviously ask them to do other things in terms of creating additional reports, things of that nature. We have 19 users currently. This also includes MapLinks. MapLinks software is the software that we've just recently acquired this year that has been extremely helpful in our zoning process. All right, so if you total up all that money, you're probably saying that doesn't add up to $71,060. However, if you figure in the 3%, you also figure in the fact that 1,800 could possibly use for enhancement. And we're also anticipating 2 new code enforcement officers. So there's about a $2,900 additional amount in here for those 2 additional licenses. Every time we bring someone on, we have to pay for a license for this software. That's something we want to anticipate as opposed to needing those funds at a later date. So down here, code enforcement's licensing and registration. That is $5,700. As you know, 2 years ago, we accepted responsibility of paying the life hazard registration for all township buildings. That's just how they identify those buildings in terms of their use. And that's $5,700. That's a fee that goes straight to the state. The next line item is construction inspections. Now here, as you can see, it was previously $48,400, and now they're down to $12,000, a difference of minus $36,400. So this is for the use of a subcode official in case of emergency. We're going to break glass and call this person in. This person will basically be used if Ted or Steve or someone's on vacation and or there's an illness and we need to replace those individuals for a short period of time. And that would encompass that $12,000. And last but not least, $299, that's $1,000 miscellaneous. That's the budget line item we established for National Night Out. We purchased some items to give away to the public for that event. And it came to a tune of about $1,000. And that would conclude our budget. So total support services budget last year was $135,000, 220. This year it's going to be, what's that? $125,000, $722, which is a net negative, I should say, of $9,498. So we've saved the township almost $9,500. A difficult thing to do, but we made it happen. Any questions?
You project to save the township $9,500.
That's projected anyway.
I got one question.
Yes, sir.
Is it true they call your department the $1 Million Department?
Some people do. We just do our best we can to try to support the township. This year we did, now we're up to $1,048,000, about $600.
All right, congratulations, great job.
Hang up. Absolutely.
Any questions? Anything I can answer?
Are we still looking to add personnel for weekend work?
That's a conversation that Mr. Harris and I are having right now. The thought was to try to bring on some part-time individuals to fill those positions and then have them work on a regular basis on Saturdays. Right now, we currently rotate the individuals we have in our department. So every other Saturday, someone will fill that weekend position. We'd like to see at least 2 individuals working on Saturday. It's difficult to cover the entire town with one person. but, we're trying to make it work now. And everybody's chipping in and just working Saturday. I haven't had any problems or pushback from anyone to, come in on Saturday. But we do rotate it, so it makes it a little more palatable. You don't have to work every Saturday. You might work one Saturday every month or every 2 months. But as far as filling that on a permanent basis, we are having discussions now, and we'll probably complete those discussions after we start talking personnel. Right? Are we doing SMART goals, or we gonna
No,
hold off on that?
we'll hold off on that, but I
Thank
do,
you. You got my SMART. goals.
I do, yes. Just in consideration of time, I asked them not to present their SMART goals, and I will forward them over to you all so you have them collectively. Next up is Acting Director of our Recreation Department, Ms. Dion Bolden. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, Councilwoman Whitfield, Councilwoman Dr. Tiffany Worthy. I am here to present for the Recreation and Parks Department as the acting director. Sean, let me know when you're ready. "30 seconds tops." So next slide, please. The Recreation and Parks Department provide a wide variety of comprehensive programs, activities, and events in our community, also offering beautiful landscapes, trails, and parks while enhancing the overall quality of life. Next slide, please. The Recreation and Parks Department consists of 7 full-time office staff, which is 4 clerks, a recreation leader, a recreation program coordinator, and dual duty of a recreation supervisor and acting township director. 5 part-time wellness staff, and oversees all seasonal staffing, which usually equates to about 55 individuals in the summertime for tennis, aquatics, and camp. Next slide, please. We'll be going into the meat and potatoes. So award and dues is $2,000. There is no change there. That pretty much covers the memberships that we have to be part of the New Jersey Recreation and Parks memberships. We're also, 2 of us are also part of the National Recreation and Parks membership. So these kind of gives us discounts for classes, allows for us to do additional training, and also for our pools, we need to have an aquatics facility manager and also playground inspectors. So we don't have to hire anybody from the outside to do the inspections for our playgrounds, because we have a certified playground inspector in-house. So there's no change to that line. With the travel expense, you'll see for 2024, it was $300. For 2025, it's $650 with a change of $350. And that's basically for the travel expense to go to the Recreation and Parks Conference. I did attend the league last year, but the League of Municipalities is really not as beneficial as the Recreation Conference. When we go to those conferences, it's pretty much everything recreational. There were only a couple of classes that are really recreational related at the League of Municipalities. So we kind of get more bang for our buck if we actually go to a conference that's kind of centered around what it is that we do. So that's why you see that particular increase, because that would cover the travel expenses to go to that conference. Office supplies, it pretty much stays the same. It's a printer that we have. It's just a specialty printer that does big signs and banners and things of that nature. And we can only get the specific supplies from that particular vendor. So that price has pretty much been consistent. So that's why you don't see a change there. With regards to training, you will see in 2024, we had 1,200. Going into 2025, we're looking for 1,650, which is an increase of $450. We always have money within our training line. And then this year, we just kind of increased it a little bit. We did have training for our seasonal employee. We used to do them in pockets, but what we did this year is kind of hired the staff early on so that we could have one big cohesive meeting. So everybody was learning the same thing at the same time and also getting familiar with each other and addressing things with regards to CPR, safety, just the overall requirements with the township, with our township handbook. And then this also allows us, we had staff this year that went to suicide awareness training. So it's information that we can kind of send individuals to, and then they can kind of come back and turnkey it for everybody else that's on staff. And then we also have the ability to do, to use Skill Path. So they're the ones that we kind of can do customer service training, confrontational, de-escalating. We have two new employees that started, but we already had the training lined up. So after their first week, they were actually able to kind of sit down and take this training ahead of time with regards to, customer service. But I also encourage them, if you're not well-versed in how Excel works, but we do Excel spreadsheets all the time, just let me know so that we can make sure that we kind of get you signed up for those particular trainings. So that's kind of why that's beefed up a little bit. And I know with the, transitioning of, people coming to different places, there may be a different training that's definitely going to be required. With regards to events, that number stayed the same. This kind of covers, we have a couple of fee-based events that we have each year, and which is kind of ticket related. So it's not, it's a public event, but it's a public event with a fee, because public events are those things that we have that is just open to the public and there's no cost at all. So that's kind of there just to kind of offset some different things. I'll just use Phenomenal Woman as an example. If we're kind of getting trophies or something like that, yes, we have a fee that's associated with it, but then we also have catering costs that those particular fees actually cover. So that's what that is compared to the public events line, which you will see there is an increase there of $5,000. And part of that increase is, we have the Friday Night Lives. The first year we had 3, the second year we have 6. Going into 2025, it may be more, but what we're also finding out is that the prices of bands and everything, all of the entertainment isn't the same. So before we might be able to get a band for, $750 or $1,000. Now bands are asking $12,000 and up, even though it's like 2 night, believe it or not, and we're finding that it's consistent with different individuals that we're talking to. And I'm not saying that we can't, continue to search around, but we're just trying to factor that into the budget if that just becomes something that we have to deal with kind of going forward. And then also in this line, we never really factored in different expenses with regards to like the Barrel Barbecue or the Barrel en Blanc or different events that we might have with our National Parks and Recs Month. But this line right here just covers all of the things that we kind of do outside. So, the Jangle Jangle Jam, our teen night, anything that's associated with the Easter egg candy, the egg hunt that we have, our Black History Month, yard sale, all of those particular events and financing is kind of rolled up into that particular number. Program supplies, it went from 3,000 to 2,700, which is a decrease of $300. Every little dollar counts. But this kind of covers our programming that we have. So, we have a variety of things, wrestling, baseball, boxing, they're kind of all listed up there. But this would be things that might be needed for that particular thing. Okay, we have several basketballs right now, but there could be, that we need to replace a couple. So that's kind of where those particular things come in at. We might need something for the wrestling program. We have the community garden outside. Sometimes they may, need a wheelbarrow or a rake or something like that. So that particular line kind of covers the supplies that's needed to support those particular events. The contractual line, that did increase by $1,000. We've added, oh, I'm sorry. Change slide, please. I'm sorry, Sean. I'm just steady going. Thank you, Mr. Tunstall. This particular line is for our contractual items. So we have our MyRec system, and I believe I have the pricing up there. This, going into 2025, we've added, 2 additional, pieces of software. We used the, Meetup previously and been able to cover the cost, but that's the software that's used for the individuals that play pickleball. So it's something that's online, and then people can register from all over, and that's usually how we keep up with those that are playing inside the building. And then we also have Survey Monkey, which we used. The police department used to use it, but they don't no longer. But we kind of use that to send out surveys for a variety of things. Our programming, if you like our, facilities, if you're attending this particular class, what do you like about the programming? How's the instructor? So it kind of gives us feedback at the end of the Jazz Fest. We send something out to the vendors. What did you like about your spot? Was the registration okay to set up? So it just kind of gives us feedback from the community so we can kind of, increase and improve the things that we need to, and we can also find out the things that we do correctly. Building and grounds, that line item kind of stays the same. This allows us to kind of fill in the gaps with regards to sometimes some of the things that DPW may be able or not be able to provide. So if at a playground we're missing a swing or the slide, something's wrong with that, and we have an inspection, we know we have to replace those different items. This is the line where those things come in at. We're looking at in the pavilions with changing the benches that are out there. We find that people tend to put chains on the benches, move them into the middle of the yard. We would like to get middle of the grass. So we'd like to get new benches and maybe attach them to the concrete underneath the different pavilions so people can't move it. But that particular line is where these things come in at, things that need to be improved in the parks, in the playgrounds. And then also if we, need a repair for like a spin bike, pedal brakes or something, it allows us to do those types of things. And then the next 2 lines are considered our public events line. So the first one is the Jazz Festival. There is an increase ask of $50,000. So it would be going from 100,000 to 150,000. The cost of everything has gone up. I know sometimes there's question or debate as to even pricing for artists. If I'm worth a certain price in January, I'm still worth the same price kind of going into the middle of the year. But things that we have to factor in when we're looking at that is where you are. Sometimes we may want to get a certain artist, but they're on the West Coast. So we kind of not to look at that. We'll try to see if maybe you're on the East Coast, because then maybe the travel expenses aren't there. So those things are the things that we look into as we're trying to acquire artists. However, the price across the board is still going up. And then this year we had the monitor, the screen that you were kind of able to see from the back of the park, the big monitor. And then there was kind of conversations of, do we need to have 1 or do we need to have 2 on both sides? The monitor alone was $15,000. So everything has went up each year with the pricing of barricades, the way that we lay out the park. So having to have barricades more in certain areas, and then, staging. So that kind of is just the cost that's associated with some of the increases that come along with the Jazz Festival. And then with Juneteenth, we kind of held the line with that because we were able to do what we needed to do with the $13,000. So we didn't see that there was kind of anything that was a shortfall. So that's the reason why the ask for that is pretty much the same. So the overall total recreation and parks request is $80,800, which is an increase of $8,875 from last year. And then, of course, the operating budget, we're asking the 163. And that's pretty much because of the increase of $50,000. So last year it was 113,000 was the ask for, last year. So the total is $243,000, and 800. Sean, next slide. This is the organizational chart, which I pretty much discussed earlier. So you can just kind of see the positions and the title. And then Sean, the last slide. Thank you.
Are there any questions?
Deputy Mayor?
Yes. So it's a roughly increase of $59,000 from last year, roughly. I think you said 13 and
You talking about
50.
the overall?
The overall.
Oh,
I'm looking at the overall. Because I know, what was it, eight and change? and then with the 50?
The increase would be.
She said the 8.
Okay, 58,000.
58,000 increase from last year.
Yes.
So with the,
Because of
And there's
$50,000 of that
8,000.
is the Jazz Festival, so the overall operating expense increase would be 8,875.
correct. All right, so with the conversations that we had at the last council meeting regarding restructure, have you taken in consideration programming for the wellness program?
No, in conversations that I had with Mr. Harris, we were just kind of asked to present our budget as it is.
Okay,
Because everybody was presenting it, and then, of course, at some point in time, things would be merged, but we were just asked to present as if we
Okay.
were just kind of going forward.
okay. And then I see the $50,000 request for the Jazz Fest. Or are there any plans to turn that Jazz Fest into a money generating event? Is there any way or any ideas of how to generate money? Because we constantly every year are putting out money, putting out money, putting out money.
I think our biggest thing is if we had sponsorship. That's a conversation that I had with Mr. Duckett. If we kind of get sponsorships, that can offset and we received sponsors, but even for last year, our sponsorship number was $10,000, right? Which is kind of a drop in the bucket for something of this magnitude. So what we have to kind of consider is maybe corporate sponsors. I think that would be beneficial. We also had the monitor that we had that was out there. We've had conversations with that company that you may be able to solicit businesses in an area that they may want to advertise on the board while the Jazz Fest is happening. So I think we have to think in terms of that in order for us to bring in additional revenue, because that's the only way that I can see it happening.
All right, so I
And
think,
to kind of offset, you know what I mean?
all right, I think, the council, we need to engage and to see what we can do to turn this into a generator because for years, we're putting money in, and it's like every year it's seed money, it's seed money, it's seed money. At some point, that seed money has to grow into a tree. So I think we need to sit down and see what else we can add that we haven't had that, will allow that. Even
No,
if it's, vending, liquor, alcohol, beverage, whatever, we just need to throw everything out there to see what we can do to possibly generate some dollars so we can kind of turn this around and it's not as much of an impact.
No, I agree. For
Okay.
artists alone, we're paying $80,000. And then for everything else, it's maybe $75,000 to $80,000
No,
alone. You know what I mean? So
No,
I completely
understood.
agree. If we can find, sponsorship or something like that, or like you're saying, add additional things that can, add to and offset.
no,
Yeah.
I absolutely agree. And one thing I've been a proponent of is once the Jazz Fest is over, we need to start soliciting day one. And like I said, corporate sponsors. If
Correct.
that's not a box that we tapped on or open, we need to be knocking on the door. We need to be knocking on the door. So I'm just looking at other ways to help offset some of this cost until we can turn it into a profit.
Okay.
But I think it needs to be continuous conversations.
Agreed.
All right, thank you.
Councilwoman Whitfield?
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Dion, for your presentation. A little bit on the same lines as Councilman or Deputy Mayor Anderson. For the Jazz Fest, do we have like a sponsorship guide that we send out to potential sponsors, notating the sponsor levels and what's included in those packages?
We do.
Okay.
Yes, the communications department provides that. We just need to create one that's probably more on a corporate level.
Okay.
with those dollar amounts, because the dollar amounts that we have are, 5,000, 2,500, you know what I mean? If we're
Individual
presenting to
level
local
sponsorship.
businesses,
Right.
we need to create a packet that's corporate level where we're asking 25,000, 50,000. Yeah, those are game
Okay.
changers.
All right, great. And then also for the Jazz Fest artists, I know typically you can get secured lower rates if you book in advance. So is there plans to start identifying those artists sooner so that we can get lower rates, lower contract rates for some of the artists?
Yeah, I spoke to Mr. Duckett, but even in speaking to him last year and securing those artists maybe a little bit sooner, the price point for those artists were still the same price that we paid in 2024.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I think that was all the questions I had. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Dr. Worthy.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I support what's been said so far, and thank you, Ms. Bolden, for your presentation. And I wanted to talk just a little bit about the program supplies line. I know there's a decrease there, and I was wondering if you've considered what additional supplies or equipment may be required as your team continues to work to enhance the summer camp, the summer programming. And so not that I'm saying just go ask for more money, but just I want to make sure as you're looking through all the programs that the summer program, which is growing and can be even more viable, that you consider the program supplies, for that specific program. And also, I don't know how it's covered, but for the field trips and the operating expenses of the summer program, I don't know how it's covered in the budget, but there may be opportunities to either move money or request funding so that we can have more summer camp trips that may be more appealing and maybe more frequent during the summer. So I'm not sure how it fits into the budget, but just thinking about our summer camp.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mhm.
And I'm going to say along those lines too. Thank you for the presentation. I was looking at the events line, which you requesting $1,000. And again, I'm not saying you, ask unnecessarily for more money. But it seems like $1,000 wouldn't even cover catering for some of the events that you put on.
No, it wouldn't.
And then, so yeah, that looked just kind of low to me. And also even with the contractual, even if I just added up everything that you put on just on this list, it was still kind of short of what you're requesting. So maybe, if needed, bump it up a little bit.
Okay.
And then, I do second what Deputy Mayor and Councilwoman Whitfield said. Somehow, even if the net is even if we're not making money on it, but just kind of bridge that gap with the cost of vendors. I know everything's going up, but are our costs going up? Our parking going up? And and that's, I think it's a kind of a balance that you have to walk,
We do,
but
yeah. I agree, because we do consider those things, and it's so, and yeah, we consider those things as our people in the front, sometimes they get beat up just for the $20, and I'm a taxpayer, and why am I
Right.
doing that? And I'm not saying that we don't increase it, because
no, but and
you
that's,
know what I mean? So we try to gradually
yeah.
do things so it's palatable and they're not
Right.
suffering so much.
And I just want to keep in mind, while the residents pay for that event, we do receive a lot of guests.
Mhm.
I guess, just kind of tapping into that, because the investment is at this point, our residents
Yeah, and we're
doing
already
it.
really
So
getting a free concert.
Right,
With
right.
8 acts paying,
Right.
whether it's $20,
$20.
even $30, you know what I
Right,
mean?
right,
If you honestly, put it in terms like that, but yeah.
right. So, okay, just just
that's-
keep looking at that. And that's all I had for today. So thank you.
Thank you. I was told I can add some money.
Maybe.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bolden. Next before you is Acting Director of Public Safety, Captain Ian Bucks.
And then we can go to public comment around 4:15, 4:20.
What time is it advertised?
The 4:30.
I thought it was advertised for 5:30.
That's what I thought. I think it's advertised till 5:30, but all the stuff that's on special on the website, it says 4:30, but I think the newspaper says 5:30.
I'm just looking at what.
Yeah, just check it.
So Everett put it in the newspaper legally for 5:30 just in case, but we were telling, I believe he just did that as like a, God forbid something happened, but I think it's supposed to be only 2:30, 4:30.
I don't know what that.
I don't know what that means. The time that was given to me was 2:30 to 4:30 for the 2 days, so I tried to squeeze in all of the departments in the time that was provided to me. So,
Because you said it was 2 hours. You said we would need 2 hours. I think that's where he got that from. You would need 2 hours.
right.
So, but even 2:30 to 4:30, with someone started at 4:30, that exceeds
The
the
2
2
hours.
hours. Yeah.
I mean, so we're within that 3 hour timeframe that was publicly advertised. Just that on our website.
On our website, our flyer.
Flyers.
Presentations to the
Publicly, it
residents,
was.
yes.
So it's
Legally.
Legally.
I don't know
So
what.
we need to go over,
I mean, that'll,
think we're okay.
Okay, I'm just looking at the.
Yeah.
So, you're calling, Madam Mayor.
see public safety.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, Councilwoman Dr. Worthy, Councilwoman Whitfield. As always, it's an honor to stand before you and represent our police department and present to you our 2025 operating budget. Next slide, please. So the Public Safety Department consists of police, fire, EMS, Office of Emergency Management, OEM, traffic guards, and security. Just note that the fire and EMS budgets will be presented in a separate presentation. Next slide. The police department is a 24/7 law enforcement agency that currently employs 71 sworn police officers to patrol our municipality, investigate crimes, and answer 911 calls. The police department is on pace to handle over 38,000 calls for service this year, which is approximately 6,000 more than the previous year. Next slide, please. The police department is broken down into two major divisions, the patrol division and the detective division. And we have subdivisions such as the traffic safety unit, the accident investigation unit, records bureau, community engagement, EMT unit, chaplain unit, SWAT team, K-9, bike unit, honor guard, school resource officers, crime analysis, neighborhood watch, citizen and youth police academies, and the police athletic league. Next slide, please. The OEM, Office of Emergency Management, works with Willingboro's police, fire, and EMS, and county and state officials, federal organizations to ensure Willingboro is prepared for all types of emergencies such as natural disasters, man-made disasters, and health emergencies. Our OEM is currently under a restructuring period, and it typically consists of a coordinator, deputy coordinator, and volunteers.
Can you tell Sean to watch the slide?
Next slide, please. We should be on our security unit consists of 18. One more. Maybe I'm just talking too fast.
Stay with us, Sean.
Our security unit consists of 18 part-time security guards. They're responsible for assisting visitors and maintaining security at the JFK Center, the library, and the municipal complex. They also are utilized during special events such as the Jazz Festival and Juneteenth, to name a few. Next slide, please. Our traffic guard unit consists of 46 part-time traffic guards who ensure the safety of student pedestrian traffic before and after school. They are assigned post and typically work 3.5 hours a day during the school year. They're also utilized during special events such as Trunk or Treat, Jazz Festival, and Juneteenth. Next slide, please. Now we'll jump into the meat and potatoes of our operating budget. What you'll see here is a breakdown of 2023, 2024, and 2025. If you see it in bold, that is, it's pretty much staying the same. We're not asking for an increase or decrease. It's going to stay the same as last year. Green obviously would go to be for an increase, and red would be a decrease. So police department administration clothing, it's in the same in 2025 as we did as the previous year. That's used for uniforms and equipment required to provide to officers by the Law Enforcement Supervisor Association collective bargaining agreement. State contracts have increased, and this will cover, those costs. Administration awards and dues, looking for a $500 increase for a $1,000 request in 2025. This is utilized to pay professional association dues necessary to keep command staff abreast of current best practices. Some examples are the FBI National Academy Associates, it's approximately $320. The International Associations of Chiefs of Police, which is approximately $190 for each, myself, Captain Perez, Captain Harry. New Jersey State Association Chiefs of Police, Burlington County Association of Chiefs of Police, and Women in Law Enforcement. Next slide, please. Administration travel expense, we're asking for a $4,000 increase from the previous year for a total of $10,000. Utilized to pay travel expenses related to professional development, training conferences necessary to keep command staff abreast of current best practices. Many of our conferences are out of state in larger cities and require travel. Now that we're at a full command staff, I'm requesting this line to be increased to cover those travel costs. Average cost is approximately $2,000 to $3,000 per command staff member. This would include, travel, flight, per diem, fuel, tolls, parking, and other expenses. Administrative office supplies, looking for a $300 increase from the previous year for $1,500 total. This covers office supplies such as paper clips, Post-it notes, things of that nature, and that are necessary for the day-to-day operations of the police administration. Next slide, please. Administrative printing, an increase of $600 for a total of $750. This would cover printed products, stationery, letterhead, envelopes, business cards necessary for the day-to-day operations of the police administration. Administrative training, an increase of $400 for a total of $2,000 for 2025. And those costs cover training costs, tuition necessary to keep the command staff abreast of current best practices and accreditation status. This is where we would pay for training conferences for the command staff. The examples would be, the FBI training conference, the IACP conference, the League of Municipalities, West Point Command and Leadership, and things of that nature. Next slide, please. Administrative contractual, that's staying the same from 2024. And those are for contractual services necessary for the direction and administration of staff. Example, our Power DMS policy management systems, our POS, which is our employee scheduling system, Leads Online, our databases, the Burlington County New World systems, and things like that. Patrol clothing and cleaning, a $5,000 increase to $69,000 for 2025. And those are clothing allowance as required by the FOP and LISA collective bargaining agreements. Patrols awards and dues, $500. That's the same as the previous year. Awards for recognizing staff that have excelled in their service necessary for maintaining morale and esprit de corps. Purchases include, plaques, trophies, certificates. Some of our awards are Officer of the Quarter, Officer of the Year, and Marksmanships awards. Travel expense for patrol, $250. That's pretty self-explanatory. The next one is a pretty big increase. It's police department patrol training, looking for a $16,000 increase. This increase is for a total of $36,400 for 2025. This increase is due because of with the hiring of new police officers, the police academy doubled their rate in training. It used to be $800 for a police officer to attend the police academy. Now it's $1,800. So or $1,600. So that's the reason for the increase. But they also includes other training courses that we attend on a regular basis. But the increase was to cover those costs for our new police officers. Police Department patrol licensing, that increase is to cover, the anticipation of hiring, 10 additional police officers in 2025, and that would cover the cost for that. You only pay for the initial licensing of a police officer, and it's $500. There is no renewal fee. Police officers' licenses are renewed every 3 years, but you only pay at the initial portion of their career. Patrol clothes and equipment, requesting an additional $7,200 to add on into 2025 for a total of $75,000. This is police uniforms and equipment required to provided by officers by the FOP and LISA collective bargaining agreements. This includes new hires and promotions. On average, it costs about $2,500 to $3,000 to initially uniform a police officer. Prisoner meals, those things are, we very rarely use this line item, but we like to have a little bit of money in there in case we need it for a particular reason. If we have somebody in custody for a significant period of time, we do have to feed them. We don't use it that often because we found other means of being able to provide meals to people that we have for a longer period of time, whether it's, a missing kid or a prisoner or something like that. So that's why that's at $25 and stays there. Police patrol bike repair, that's for the maintenance of our police bicycles, and that's good at $800. The Honor Guard special events, this was a new line item that was added last year. We requested $1,500 last year and requesting the same for this year. You will see our Honor Guard fully outfitted and looking sharp at the reorganization meeting. Some of the things that they, that we used this funding for was for the purchase of Honor Guard uniforms, departmental flag, American flag, state flag, and things like that. Patrol psychological exams, that's staying the same at $500. Psychological fitness for duty exams, which may be necessary as part of an early warning system to ensure the officers are able to properly perform their duties. Patrol other supplies, this was an increase of $600. Last year we took $600 from the admin patrol supplies. We were supposed to add it into patrol other supplies. It never got added in there, so I'm asking for that increase in this year. Patrol EMT expenses. Next. One more slide. All right, patrol EMT expenses, asking for an increase of $400. Those are supplies and equipment for first aid, rubber gloves, bandages, things like that for our EMT units. Patrol SWAT expenses, SWAT team equipment such as bags, cases, breaching tools, etc., necessary to properly equip SWAT operators to safely execute search warrants, hostage rescue missions, etc. So this year, the Attorney General in October, he redid our use of force policy, and he added in certain things that, if you're not considered a tier 2 or a tier 1 SWAT team, you can only be able to perform certain missions within your municipality. We are currently considered a tier 2 SWAT team, which allows us to respond to barricaded subjects and hostage rescue situations. Computer maintenance repair, asking for a reduction of $900. Most of that comes from our IT department, so there's no longer a need for us to have this in our operating a budget. Next slide, please. Canine training, asking for an additional $650. These are costs associated with training, mandatory by the Attorney General guideline for our police dogs. We're looking to add an additional police dog in 2025, and that would cover the additional increase would cover the tuition for the police dog. And you'll kind of see that as a recurrent theme in the next two line items. For the canine expenses, an increase of $8,000. That would be for the purchase of a police dog, and also for food and equipment. The additional funding request is to purchase a dual-purpose dog. Our past 3 police canines have been purchased through donations and fundraising from our Willingboro Police Association nonprofit. So that's why I'm asking for the $8,000 in this line item to purchase a new police canine. Canine vet services, again, is part of the cost of the additional dog. Next slide, please. Detective clothing, that's going to remain the same. Again, clothing allowance as required by the FOP collective bargaining unit. Detective awards and dues are just that. Detective travel expenses, again, it's same as the other previous line items, would cover travel expenses that our detectives may incur. Detective training. Training costs tuition is necessary to keep detectives abreast of current best practices. Detectives' photo and IDs, that's going to stay same at $600. They're for police identification cards to allow staff to properly identify themselves as a law enforcement officer. Detectives' equipment, stays the same as previous years. Next slide, please. Detective contractual, staying the same. Detective informant fees, asking for a $2,000 increase to our detective informant fees. These funds are necessary for collecting intelligence and/or evidence utilizing a confidential source. With the legalization of marijuana and bail reform, has become more challenging to generate and more costly to sign up confidential informants. Our CIs play a vital role in providing actionable intelligence, which is critical in narcotics investigations, within our municipality. If you look at this line item, there is a typo on this line item. It's going to stay at $250. So if you look at 23, 24, and 25, those numbers aren't correct. 23 should be 500, 2024 should be 250, and the request for this year is $250, and that's supplies for our neighborhood watch program.
250 or 500?
It should be 250.
No increase or no change?
No increase or no change. Next slide, please. So the next one is the crime prevention community engagement. I asked for a $3,500 increase for a total of $13,000. Last year we were able to get a grant for it was like $54,000 for our in community engagement unit. That funding is not available this year, so to kind of offset some of those costs, that's why I did ask for a $3,500 increase in that line item. Staff services training, $1,900, again, the same as last year. Staff services uniform equipment, $3,900, same as the previous year, no change. Staff services, next slide, please. Staff services drug screening, an increase of $900. This drug screening is required by the Attorney General and to be performed randomly on all police officers as part of the internal affair process. Staff services equipment, is just that, miscellaneous equipment and supplies needed for specialized units that do not have their own budgeted line item. That stayed the same at $3,000. Staff services ammunition stays the same at $40,000. That's ammunition for on-duty carry as well as firearms training and Attorney General mandated qualifications. Each officer must qualify at a minimum twice a year, and our SWAT team trains twice a month. We conduct an extensive firearms training program, which includes decision-making, stress shooting, and shoot, don't shoot scenarios. We send our officers to in-service classes where the need for ammunition is a part of those classes. Next slide, please.
Captain Bucks, just to interrupt for 1 second. Mr. Harris, we're going to let the meeting go till 5:30. All right.
Thank you.
Staff services contractual, 54,100. That's the same as the previous year. Again, contractual payments and services necessary for the evident delivery of police services, accreditation fees, leads online, our Cooper EAP programs, FTO software, internal affairs software, and things of that. Staff services, vehicle leasing. I'm not sure if this line item is going to stay in our operating budget or get moved somewhere else. But since we've transitioned to the enterprise fleet management system, it's utilized, but I don't know if it's better off in our operating budget or somewhere else. But that is $195,000, and it'll stay the same for 2025. Staff services equipment maintenance stays the same at $1,000. Maintenance and repair for police equipment such as in-car cameras, microphones, firearm parts, and things like that. Next slide, please. Staff services radio maintenance requesting increase of $2,500. We asked for there was a zero for last year. This is due to our police radios originally came from the county. They were purchased for us from the county, but we're required for the upkeep and the maintenance. We're probably going about, I think, the fourth year of those radios. We need to start to replace batteries, microphones, and things like that. And one battery is about $150. This increase would help us cover, those costs of replacing the batteries for our police portable radios, not the ones that are in our car. Staff services internet line, that line was removed from the police budget last year. Next slide, please. Staff services car conversion, no request for this line item this year. Staff services vehicle maintenance. So I asked for a reduction in that line item. We really don't use that line item, that money or the vehicle maintenance usually comes from the Public Works division. So I requested to bring that down to zero, but take that $3,700 and add it into the line item behind it or underneath of it, which is staff services, other equipment. So that's for maintenance supplies needed for keeping police equipment functional. Again, batteries, weapon mounted lights, firearms cleaning supplies, police radio mics, adapters for police laptops in the vehicles. Next slide, please. Public safety security, that's staying the same. Public safety security clothes and equipment, that's staying the same at $5,400. Again, costs associated with township security officers. Public safety contractual, that's a $0 request. We used to use this for the lobby guard system, but I believe we're transitioning to a different type of system moving forward, and that's not going to be necessary in this budget. Public safety miscellaneous is $1,500. That's again costs associated with the township security officers, such as metal detectors, the handheld metal detector, wands, and safety vests. Next slide. Traffic guards clothing. It's consistent over the last 3 years, keeping it the same at $17,000. Traffic guard training, keeping that the same. A lot of their training is offered through the sheriff's department and is no cost to the municipality. Next slide, please. So what I did for the next section, it's our Office of Emergency Management. So what I kind of did here is I'm not sure. I know we're restructuring the Office of Emergency Management. So what I have here is I highlighted the 2025 request in blue, just to give an idea of what the request would be. Again, I don't know if that department is going to fall under the police department, if it's going to fall somewhere else. So I didn't want to not put it in the presentation. So that's why you see that as a different color. So public safety emergency coordinator stipend, that's at $15,000. OEM training at $1,000. OEM signs at $250. Officer of Emergency Management office equipment at $1,000. Officer Emergency Management equipment at $4,500. Emergency Management radio maintenance at $500. And then the next section is going to be our animal control vet services. You'll see a $2,500 increase for our vet services, veterinary services necessary for admittance of stray animals into the shelter, emergency vet services for the animal control officers. Prices and volume have increased, and this line item needs to be increased also. Same thing with the shelter fees. And then the animal control contractual, there's right now that would cover our animal control contract that we have with New Jersey Animal Control. Next slide. This kind of gives you the breakdown of what we got in 2023, what we received in 2024, and in the 2025 request. Again, you can see one with OEM in there, and then the numbers without the Office of Emergency Management. And that concludes my presentation.
Anyone have any questions for Captain Bucks? It's a lot to go through.
Ooh,
So it's
you ain't
like-
lying. I talked as fast as I could too.
Yeah, so we'll probably have some questions later. Thank you.
Thank you.
So next before you is Deputy Chief Mark Friedel of the Willingboro Fire and EMS Department. Just so you know, all of our largest departments were today. Our meetings tomorrow will be much more expedient.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, and Council. As Mr. Harris said, I'm here to present the Fire and EMS budget presentation that's been prepared for 2025. Next slide. Fire Department is 24/7 combination department consisting of full-time and volunteer personnel. Fire Department currently consists of 23 full-time staff, 12 active volunteer firefighters, and approximately 12 active volunteer fire police members, which handle all types of 911 emergencies. Fire Department on average handles approximately 1,800 calls for service per year and is on pace to increase that number in 2025. These include vehicle accidents, water rescues, vehicle rescues, power line down, structure fires, vehicle fires, CO alarms, fire alarms, assisting EMS, and other various calls that require our services. Our EMS department is a combination department consisting of full-time, per diem, volunteer personnel. The EMS department currently consists of 9 full-time EMT staff, 10 per diem EMTs, and approximately 3 volunteer EMT members. They handle all types of 911 emergency calls. Next slide. Next slide, Sean. The current full-time EMT staff handles EMS instances 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The per diem EMT staff are assigned to handle power shifts during the daytime. It's the second rig when they are available, and we are the busiest. Next slide. The EMS department is dispatched to approximately 5,000 calls for service per year and is on pace to be dispatched to more than that number in 2025. These include cardiac emergencies, respiratory emergencies, diabetic emergencies, fall victims, and other various EMS medical emergencies. Next slide. So starting with the fire department budget, fire department training is the first one. We're requesting a 0% increase or decrease. This is required training for certification and recertification for all of our career and volunteers. This is also training for new volunteers that come in and new staff. CPR AED training, online web-based training is also included this as well. Next line item is going to be clothes and PPE for the fire department. This is NFPA required station uniforms and associated accessories for firefighters and fire police personnel. The PPE or the personal protective equipment is their firefighting gear. We're asking this to stay the same at $23,500. Next line item is for fire department fireman services. This is money that's allocated for the volunteer fire company, and it is allowed through NJAC 40A:14-33 and 14-34. It's a volunteer fire company established through the Willingboro Township Ordinance. And again, a 0% increase or decrease staying at $15,000. Next slide, please. Fire Department, Fire Prevention, Community Relations. We are asking for a $1,000 increase from $6,000 in 2024 to $7,000 in 2025. This is for fire prevention and community relations, materials for events and communities and in schools. And this coincides with one of our SMART goals for 2025. Fire Department response reimbursement. We're asking for this to remain the same at $9,500 again in 2025. It's a duty crew reimbursement program for the volunteer firefighters. It's their end-of-year stipends for volunteer firefighters and volunteer fire police members who respond to incidents throughout the year. The next line item is fire department medical exams. We are asking for a $500 increase from $0 in 2024. This is for required SCBA fit test medical questionnaire clearance forms and any employee who requests to have their Hep B series shots. Next slide. So for fire department equipment, We're asking for this to remain the same again in 2025 at $16,500. This is used for purchasing new and replacement fire equipment for the fire apparatus. Our next line item is for the youth fire program. That we're asking for a $1,000 increase for this program. We decreased it last year and this year, in the past year, we noticed there was an increase in the fees for the services for the field trips. And nobody's really donating food this past year. So we've raised it $1,000 from 2024. So the 2-week program offered in the summer months for the youth cadets between 13 and 17 years of age. We are expecting in 2025 to have a maximum of 25 students. And this program will also still include the field trips. Next line item is fire department software. There's a $300 increase from $9,700 to $10,000 for 2025. It's used for active 911 fire dispatching software, fire personnel scheduling software and equipment software, and the county fire incident records management web-based software that we utilize. Next slide. Next line item is going to be fire department radio maintenance. We're asking that fire department radio maintenance stays the same at $3,500 in 2025. Repairs to portable radios, mobile communications devices, and replacement of equipment for radios and apparatus. We fall into the same aspect like Captain Bucks was talking about with our radio being issued to us from the county. Now we're responsible for maintaining it and replacing the batteries and microphones and such. Fire department building maintenance, this is going to be a $3,000 reduction. In 2025, we're asking to go down from $40,000 to $37,000. And this is to maintain the buildings, the entire building with the HVAC systems, the boiler system, the annual air compressor certifications, the building supplies and cleaning items, such as toilet paper, trash bags, and disinfectant floor cleaners. Required annual permits for commercial cooking unit and required annual NFPA 72 fire alarm testing and inspection, along with required sprinkler system testing and inspection, our annual fire extinguisher inspections, and our HVAC biannual maintenance. Next slide. It's going to be vehicle scheduled maintenance. This is for the regular preventive maintenance on the vehicles and apparatus, annual chassis and transmission maintenance on the fire pumps, our fire apparatus, annual pump testing and maintenance on apparatus that carry water and pumps, and then annual aerial maintenance on the ladder truck. We're asking this to remain the same at $15,500 in 2025. Vehicle repairs and parts, which is the next line item. We're asking for this to stay the same at $37,000. Items on the vehicles and apparatus that need repairs, wiring, bulbs, emergency lighting, repairs to onboard equipment found on apparatus, repairs or replacement of parts on vehicles and apparatus, any major repairs that might come up throughout the year, unpredictable repairs, large tire replacements also scheduled for the ladder truck in 2025. Next slide. So fire department, other equipment maintenance. Now we're asking for this to stay the same in 2025. It's $17,500. This is the annual required fire hose testing and inspection, our annual required ground ladder and aerial ladder testing and inspections, our annually required rescue and tool maintenance and service, along with annual required flow testing and self-contained breathing apparatus, our hydrostatic testing on SCBA cylinders. Last item here is miscellaneous. We're asking for a $1,000 with a $100 reduction in 2025. These are for items not associated with a specific line item, but like our Easy Pass and the DMV fees that we may encounter. So the fire department operating request is for $208,000 in 2025. Next slide.
Yeah. What's the change? Yeah.
The change, if I'm not mistaken, total is minus $300 with quick math.
I don't want the quick math. If you,
Hey.
if you can give us the real numbers, that'd be helpful. You can give it to Mr. Harris and
So
then
you-
just
yeah.
let us know. Yeah.
The next slide is for the EMS department, and this will be the EMS department training. This is, again, required training for EMTs to retain their New Jersey state certifications, their CPR, AED program, community employees, National Stop the Bleed training programs, and with the community employees, online web-based training, and in-person training courses at emergency training facilities. So we're asking for this to stay the same in 2025 at $4,300. Equipment supplies. We're asking for this to stay the same at 12,000 in 2025. This is our EMS supplies to stock ambulances, emergency vehicles. This is the bandages, the O2 masks, the collars, AED pads, and other medical equipment used on EMS incidents. Next line item is EMS department clothing and PPE equipment. Asking for this to stay at $7,000 in 2025 as well. Uniforms and other associated items to outfit EMTs, EMS pants, shirts, job shirts, and jackets. Their protective equipment like their P100 masks or gowns and face shields. There is a note in here, it could increase if it's projected to increase our personnel. EMS, next slide. EMS department radio maintenance, again, it was in 2024, it was $1,700. In 2025, we want to keep it $1,700. This is repairs to our portable radios, the batteries or the mics within the ambulances. Next line item is going to be 043, which is a new line item, which is added for community relations. We didn't have a community relations with EMS. So this is in line with another one of our SMART goals for 2025. So we did not have a budget in 2024. So we are now asking for $1,500 in 2025. So this would be in relations to getting the community relations materials presented in our 2025 SMART goal. EMS department medical exams, next line item. It was taken down to $100. We're asking to take it up $400 to $500 total. It's for required medical questionnaires for their P100 masks and EMS employees who would like their Hep B series or their titers. EMS department software, it was $3,500 in 2024. We're asking to keep it the same in 2025. This is for their active 911 EMS dispatching software, their EMS personnel scheduling and equipment software. Next slide. Next line item is going to be for vehicle scheduled maintenance. In 2024, it was $2,000. We're looking to keep it at $2,000 in 2025. Preventive maintenance on the ambulances and EMS command vehicles. Required maintenance cited by New Jersey Office of Emergency Medical Services. Next line item is going to be major vehicle repairs. We budgeted $20,000 in 2024, and we're asking to keep it at $20,000 in 2025. Items on ambulances that need repair, wiring, bulbs, and emergency lighting. The onboard systems or equipment that's found on the ambulances. Repairs and or replacement parts of vehicles and ambulances, and any major repairs to the ambulances. The unpredictable repairs and repairs that may have been sent out to an outside vendor that couldn't be fixed at DPW. Next slide. Other equipment maintenance. In 2024, it was $10,000. In 2025, we're asking to keep it at $10,000. This is an annual patient handling equipment maintenance, meaning ambulance stretchers and the stair chairs that have to be maintained annually. Replacement equipment, these are the batteries for the stretchers, straps to replace the straps on the stretchers when they go bad, or AED batteries on the vehicles and throughout the township buildings, AEDs. EMS department miscellaneous was $100. We're asking for it to go up to $200. These are the items that are not associated with a specific line item, mainly the Easy Pass or DMV fees. So the EMS department operating budget request would be $62,700. Next slide. This slide is a representation of our organizational chart, showing the fire chief at the top, the deputy chief in the middle, or below him, and then you have your fire division, your EMS division, with your 3 platoons that oversee fire services, and then your EMS captain that oversees the 4 platoons for the EMS services. As you can see, it is in there. There's 2 supervisors and 5 firefighters, and then EMS captain oversees 8 EMTs plus the volunteer EMTs as well. And then we have our volunteer fire police and our volunteer fire officers in the middle. Next slide. Thank you. Any questions?
Any questions? You just, go ahead, Dr. Worthy.
Thank you for the presentation. I was wondering if you all are still in consideration or anticipating structural changes? Those were some of the conversations earlier in the year.
I know there was conversations. I don't know where that stands right now. I have to find out. She find out.
No worries, I'll talk to Mr. Harris. I just know, since we're talking through budgets, I was just curious if that was a consideration as this was put together. Thank you.
Thank you. And so we'll have the follow-up with the two changes
With the
in the
exact
cost,
amount.
the operating cost. Yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
So that amount is a $300 reduction. Their budget last year was 208,300, and this year is a flat 208,000.
That's an EMS.
EMS is an increase of $2,700
Okay,
over
thanks.
last year. And the question, Dr. Worthy asked, yes, we are still having those conversations about merging those two services together.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And finally, for today is the request from the library. We give the library a large appropriation from the township every year. And they are going to ask for or present what they would like to receive from the township in 2025.
Good evening, council.
Good evening.
Next slide, please. I'm Sandy Cronch, Director of the Willingboro Public Library. The public library exists for the benefit of the citizens of Willingboro and the community at large. The first duty of the library is service to the public. It is our mission to serve as a diverse, interactive, digital, and physical hub that is built by and for the Willingboro community. The role of the library is to provide access to information for everyone with no barriers or judgments. The library has 14 full-time employees and 7 part-time employees. This budget represents the library's contributions, state aid, grants, and the township appropriation request. Next slide is our organizational part. Pretty self-explanatory. Next slide, please. Okay, so I list here what our 2024 budget was, our 2024 actual, and then the 2025 budget request. And I just handed out a sheet that has the changes. And that changes. We're not on Edmunds, so ours looks just a little different. Okay, so salaries and wages, we are asking to increase that from 735,000 to 822,000. That is an increase of $87,000. That is to hire 1 new full-time employee and 2 new part-time employees for a 12-month period. Also includes a pay increase for all staff. Our staff doesn't get an annual increase. We're not union, so this would be our first increase since 2022. And the next line is benefits and escrow. That would go from 265,000 to 302,000. And that's an increase of 37,000. And that increase is for the new health insurance plan, as well as adding 1 new full-time employee to our roster. Books would go from 29,165 to 25,000. That is a decrease of $4,165. That is an adjustment to the demand from print versus electronic and downloadable and streaming materials. We increased our downloadables just a little bit in our budget this year. So for next year, we're going to decrease our print budget just by $4,165. Downloadable content stays the same for 9,700 in 2024 to 9,700 in 2025. Our periodicals and subscriptions stay the same, $7,800. Audio visual, that is for DVDs. We have the budget of 5,500 for 2024, and we're going down to 3,000 for 2025. That's a decrease of 2,500. We have, because of the proliferation of streaming services that most people are doing, we're not getting as many requests for DVDs, although it is still a very popular collection. And we've been getting a lot of donations of DVDs, so we've been purchasing less because of the donations. Software and licenses. For 2024, that was 14,500, and we're asking for an increase of 2,750 to 17,250 for the anticipated purchase of a foreign language database. We currently do not have one. Office supplies from 4,300 in 2024 to 5,500 in 2025. That's an increase, anticipated increase of $1,200, and that is basically just price increase, anticipated price increase for supplies, paper, pens, printing, service cartridge, printing services, cartridges, envelopes, books, and AV processing fall in there as well. And our circulation sale items, card stock, stickers, and book tape. Equipment leases and purchases, our budget was 91,000 in 2024, and it's going down to 15,000 in 2025, to reduce a reduction of $76,000. We were able to purchase all new computers for the staff, the public computers, and the public service desks for the library for 2024. They will all be installed in 2025, hopefully by the beginning of second quarter. So this line now, the 15,000 is for our copiers, our printers, and our postal machines, and those are all leases. Postage is staying the same. It's at $3,000 for 2024, and it will stay $3,000 for 2025. That's not just outgoing postage, that also includes postage for all of our book orders. We pay for the postage for that as well. Telephone and telecom, that was 17,400 in 2024 with no change for 2025, so 17,400. Trustee expenses, we put aside $1,000 in 2024, and an anticipated increase of $500 to 1,500, and that is in case trustees want to go to more conferences, workshops, or if they have expenses for those conferences or workshops. Let's see, administrative costs, legal costs. Legal first, yes, legal was 13,000 in 2024, and we're expecting a reduction of $3,000 to 10,000 in 2025. Our solicitor had a lot of larger scale projects that they were looking at, a personnel manual, a procedures manual, and we don't expect such big projects for 2025, so that's the reduction there. Administrative costs, $10,000 in 2024, and we don't expect a change for that for 2025. Auditing and bookkeeping, that was budgeted $12,800 for 2024. We're just anticipating a $450 increase to $13,250, and that's just an increase in our audit cost. Programs and publicity, we were at $8,000 in 2024, and we're requesting $10,000 for the 2025 budget. That's an increase of $2,000. We plan on doing more programming from library staff, and also we might get we have a proposed electronic promotional tools just to try to increase our communications, and also a cost increase for supplies, and the addition of presenters and entertainer fees. Right now, most of our programs are presented for free. So we're hoping that we're putting in a little increase so that we can maybe pay some folks to come in. Utilities, we don't expect to change. That's 68,000 in 2024 and 68,000 in 2025. And then the HVAC and maintenance went down to zero, thanks to the ESIP program and to the township for us having a brand new HVAC system. We do have a small standalone HVAC for our server room, so we moved that into the next line item, which is building maintenance, equipment, and supplies. And that was budgeted at $13,000 in 2024, and there's a $2,000 increase for 2025, and that's in case there is anything needed for that HVAC server. We did just get a new server for that. So that that is the end of the budget, so I can give you the numbers here. Our 2025 appropriation request is $1,316,992. That's a difference from last year of $124,492. And these numbers for 2025 don't include the contribution from the library for our state aid and anything that we earn. And that's anticipated to be around $66,508. So that would bring our total to $1,383,400. So the increase we are requesting this year is $124,492. And next slide would be a thank you very much.
Thank you. Any questions? Dr. Worthy.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ms. Crumbs, for your presentation. I had a few questions. I know there's been a lot of energy around the library in past conversations, and I appreciate some of the comments from the Friends of the Library. They've gotten all energized and everything. And I was wondering how much money and grants are they anticipating getting for the library this year? They had talked about having skills with grant writing and working alongside the library board and the staff. So I was wondering what those conversations have yielded, just to help us to understand, you know, what that contribution may look like.
Any grants that come along, of course, we will, that apply to us. Library grants are usually very limited in scope. They're very specific. So anything that comes along that I don't know about, of course, we will apply for. But every year we get the E-rate grant, that's considered grant money. And that's all I can say for anticipated right now is the E-rate. And what did we get last year? I think our E-rate is about $6,000 for 2020.
Okay, so nothing doesn't.
Right now, it's coming down the line that I know about.
Okay.
Like the last grant that big grant we had with the art,
Mm-hmm.
and I haven't seen any that came down the line for us to apply for.
Okay, yeah, I was just wondering, just based on the all the energy from the Friends of the Library, just thinking maybe that.
Yeah, from the state library. And
Mm-hmm.
also,
Okay.
they're much more focused and narrow.
Mm-hmm.
library services. I look outside as well.
Yeah, there are other, true. Okay, so nothing from the Friends. Okay, and then for, I know there've been conversations about a possible shift to the JFK Center, as well as what it could look like if you all stay in your existing space. And I was wondering, in terms of the budget considerations, does this budget include what you all may consider for programs and transforming how you're operating, whether it be at JFK or in your existing space? Does this include that?
If we were a couple of years right now, it's just where we are in our existing space.
Okay, so no considerations for enhancing how services are going forth, or programming, or no enhancements?
Some of the increases that I had for staff
Okay,
is 2 of the part-time for librarians is so that our programming librarians can actually be off desk. So if we get a part-time librarian, they can sit at the desk, and program librarians can actually go to the programs. And that also gives them time to plan more programs. I asked for money in the programming line item so that we can maybe bring in some more engineers, and also in communications so that we can communicate more some of our programs. And then there are considerations in here
Okay.
for moving forward.
Are those documents something that council can see?
On my goals.
Okay, and once the board takes a look at your goals or approves your goals, is it something that perhaps we can see as well? I know that we don't approve the goals for the library director, but as we're looking at budget considerations, it's helpful because it tells like a bigger story, just to provide some context around some of the requests, and also may elicit some ideas from council.
Yeah, Mr. The library board does do my evaluation every year, and it's just about time. And they have me do one as well, and I included those goals in my evaluation, so that
Okay.
I can use them for going forward for next year.
Okay,
And also, we did purchase the all of the computers, brand new computers for, to come out this budget year, but next year will be, because it's gonna take our IT person quite a while, not quite a while, but he's gonna, roll them out to all of the employees, the public service desks, and we have 50 computers.
Yes. You're welcome, because council got slammed at one of the meetings where the library went on and talked about how you all didn't get support for computers, you didn't have equipment, it went on and on. So I'm so happy to hear that you're getting those. Yeah, right. That's right. That's right. You're welcome.
I did say, thank you very much, Mr. Harris, because the big thing is taking a month, and we were able to do that.
Mhm. All right. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Those are my questions.
Thank you. Real quick, it doesn't seem like the requests are that much more than what was requested last year. However, there seemed like to be a serious differential between the actual what was actually used and the request. So I'll say salary and wages. I know you're requesting an $87,000 increase. However, according to, the asterisk is by that 2024 actual, and that's less than $600,000. So even if we added, let's say 150,000, we still would be substantially lower than the budget request. Similar, benefits and escrow, that's okay. But the audit and bookkeeping, while it doesn't have an asterisk, that still is really low compared to what was, requested and the budget, the 2024 budget requests. Okay, that's on the second page.
Oh, okay, we haven't been billed for our audio,
We haven't been built for audio?
for our audio.
Okay,
That probably needs an asterisk and then
yeah,
Well, the asterisk is where it's actual.
no, what an explanation is all. 'Cause
Yeah.
It just looks like 10%'s been
Okay,
spent,
because
so.
in the 2024, if it doesn't have an asterisk, it's only up to September 30th.
right. So then even September 30th, 3 more months.
Right.
It's one is for our accounting software and one is for the audit.
Okay,
So what was already spent is, I believe, for the accounting software, and then we'll get a bill from Berlin.
like a $10,000 bill? 11,000, okay, so, yeah, that might need an asterisk
Yeah,
just
just
for
an
explanation. Programs and publicity, that doesn't have an asterisk, obviously, so do you have an anticipated spend from September or, October through the end of the year?
Hard to say,
Okay,
because we don't do a lot of snacks. We spend a lot of money on trunk or treat. I'll tell you, we had, what, 500 kids? But that's the kind of money that we're talking about.
okay,
Again, I'm hoping to maybe get an app or some kind of group mailer, like a
group mailer, okay.
sort of
Chimp.
MailChimp,
MailChimp.
so that we can start mailing out, because right now we do free advertisements, but we want to do one that does, that's a paid service.
Mr. Harris, in terms of, are we putting the buildings maintenance equipment, are we putting it in this budget? Or are we putting in DPW? Or are they separate? There's cleaning. I know there's some, and I'm just seeing the 15,000 over here. I'm not sure if it's added to DPW.
There is about, I think it was 50,000 that was included into
Okay.
DPW's line item for library maintenance. However, we are also including the library in our building maintenance bid this year, the cleaning.
Cleaning.
So, we can discuss that a little further. Because again, I think we're taking on a bit of those costs that the library won't have to expend
Right,
for those services.
okay.
The number that I put down, is for, like, the fire extinguishers, they light every year. We do, we pay for our burglar alarm monitoring. And then the rest, toilet paper, sea folds, bleach, masks, hand sanitizers, soap.
So
And then
supplies.
incidentals, your
Mhm.
extension cords, your
Mhm.
space heaters, little, furniture repair, cleaning supplies, rock salt, little things like that, that add up to about the 13,000.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Anyone else? Councilwoman Whitfield.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Ms. Krantz, for your presentation. Like was mentioned earlier, I did notice the increase in salaries and wages and the requests for another full-time employee. But one thing that I noticed that is missing, especially when we are talking about improving services and improving our library, is a training line or conferences. I don't notice any mention of training for employees or staff or participation at conferences that would keep us up to date on current happenings in the library community.
Administrative line includes professional development and professional memberships. So it's not a separate line broken out in the library budget.
Okay.
It falls under administration.
Yeah, and I noticed that that's happened a couple times as we've been talking, and it would be really helpful to kind of have it all in one place.
I can bring that to the board's attention and ask them if we can break that out as a separate line item.
Okay.
And if there's something else you would like broken out, let me know and I can ask the board.
Well, I think just explaining what's in each of these categories, what's included, would be helpful for us as we're reviewing it. And
I have a document. Would you like me to send that to you? That pretty much says what's in each line item? It's my little cheat sheet for when somebody says in a board meeting.
Yeah,
Yes, from, and I'm like, well, is that administrative or is that what, so, yeah, that's just a little cheat sheet. I can send that to you.
but just in general, for the requested, when there's an increase or, for the requested, monies, it's helpful to kind of see a breakdown of how much or what's included in that. But,
Yeah, I could do that because I think in Edmonds it includes that. And since we're not on Edmonds, I just have.
no, I think their PowerPoints are done in, their presentations were done in PowerPoint. It's not in Edmonds.
Is it pulled from Edmonds? No?
Yeah, that's
The numbers,
the budgeting.
the
software.
numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Couldn't provide that cheat sheet.
Right, thank you.
Thank you very much, folks.
And that's it. Public comment?
You can do it.
I'd like to open public comment now. We're gonna stick to the 4-minute rule. State your name, sorry. We're gonna open public comment. I would like you to state your name and address, and we're going to do the 4-minute rule for public comment. Thank you. Seeing none, I'd like to close public comment.
And Mayor, I just wanted to say all of these presentations will be made available on our website for the public's accessing after they're all done.
Excuse me, Mayor, I do see a number that popped up afterwards if, all right, so call-in listener ending in 7297.
Yeah, public comment is closed. If there's any questions, please contact the township manager. All right. I'd like to make a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
Third.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, and we.
Thank you. Have a great night. We will be back tomorrow, same time
Yes.
at Kennedy Center.